And we are live.
Welcome, everyone. This is the 20th episode of Season 2 of the Worldwide Wednesday podcast.
I'm your host, Sovereign.
And I'm Shiny. And before we start, we have now basically doubled. We're nearly doubled how long our previous season was. Season 1 was 11 episodes. We are now at 20 episodes for Season 2.
No way.
Yeah. So, I wonder how we're going to determine when our cutoff should be for, each season.
At this point, we got one every week, so we can't really stop here.
Yeah. Anyways, so we have a lot to talk about. We have Kenobi. We have Miss Marvel. I want to briefly touch on Young Justice ending, as well as the beginning of the new comic series tying into the series Young Justice Targets, as well as a brief talk about Dark Crisis issue number 1. And then we also have the January 6th Commission.
Yep, definitely learned a lot about that, but we'll get to that in the second half of our podcast.
I believe there was one other political segment we said we were going to talk about last week.
Did we? No, we pretty much just teased the Jan 6 stuff.
It was just Jan 6?
I believe so.
Okay. If it comes to me, I'll remember it. But yeah, so let's just get started. Which one do you want to start with?
I want to start with Miss Marvel.
Miss Marvel? Okay, let's go. This episode, in my opinion, was just as good, if not better than the last one.
No, I disagree. The first one was leagues better, although this one still keeps up the quality.
I think this one was just as good as if not better, because it kept up the same vibe, as in it kept the same quality in one, Kamala's family life. Like, it didn't seem like it dipped. It just felt like a natural extension of her characterization. But also, how they're handling her developing her powers, I felt was much smoother and much better than how a series normally handles someone first using their powers. It felt far more streamlined.
Yeah, I won't disagree with that at all. I just felt like the relatability in season 1 was a lot stronger as far as being able to relate to Kamala's situation.
Yeah,
that's the one element that really I felt I was much more blown back by in episode 1.
Yeah,
and that's the reason I rated the episode so high last week, was because of its accuracy to a first generation American citizen who comes from an immigrant family.
Yeah, well, I actually felt the relatability was still pretty high.
It was still high. I just felt it was like up on the top in episode 1. Episode 2 here, I would say it didn't dip that much, but
I would still say it's there, especially with the Illuminatis.
Oh, yeah, no, that bit was funny, but
yes.
I will say it was leagues better in episode 1, but still, in this episode, still really good. That's the only reason, it's a little down for me, but this is still a spectacular episode. But I do want to dive back to what you said, where you were talking about how this, the development of her powers are extremely streamlined.
Yeah, for example, I feel like a lot of, what this reminded me of was a better version of how Shazam handled Billy getting his first powers, which was already really good.
Oh, yeah.
I felt this was better than how Shazam handled it, and Shazam was really good in terms of handling Billy getting his powers. Because a lesser show would have, had her basically struggle for, several episodes, and then by the end of it, it's just bam! I know how to use it all. Meanwhile, this one, it shows that she's actively practicing, and she's not doing overly complex things from the beginning.
She's starting small, taking steps, creating a slide out of her abilities.
Yeah, and she's still struggling.
In her first save,
yeah,
she was still practicing the basic maneuvers and all of that.
Yeah, and she's still struggling to control the powers, but it doesn't feel like she's crawling at a snail's pace. It's proportional, because this is it's basically powers based off of her imagination. Yeah. So the sky's the limit, and so I feel like it makes sense in terms of how someone would realistically view their powers. They're well, I can't fly, but what if I tried to create steps? What people would think when they have superpowers to create things with their minds. I don't have super strength, but I could make my fist bigger.
And you're very right to bring up, like, yeah, the process in which she learned her powers was very similar to how Billy figured it out in Shazam.
Yeah.
I will say an apt comparison to make to show is the original Raimi trilogy. In that one, Peter actually just went full in. It was like, okay, I have a web, I'm gonna swing, and it was, not it wasn't as streamlined as in Shazam and Miss Marvel, where
Yeah.
he just dove right into it, and for that he got a building to the face.
Yeah.
Whereas here, it's a little bit more realistic. Like, probably realistic would be like, okay, how much weight can my webs handle, or something like that.
Yeah. Another thing that I liked is she's even doing a bit of physical training.
Yeah, a little bit.
She's doing a little bit of physical training, which, I mean, obviously, but the fact that they even considered the idea that, maybe she does do a little physical training just to be a little in shape, I think was going the extra mile and showing how her and Bruno are, like, one, taking this seriously while trying to have fun, but two, shows how much the writers have gone into showing just what it's like to be a beginner superhero and some of the things you'll need to do.
Like, I'm just here. If you're gonna be a high schooler and a superhero, you need to have stamina comparable to a cross-country athlete.
Yeah, so the fact that they're even showing that, yeah, she's gonna have to physically train herself, I thought was really good.
Yeah.
The other thing that I really liked with the scene was when she fell and he was like, "Don't let go," and she's like, "You have to let me go," which was clearly a parody of Clinton and Natasha.
See, when I saw that scene, I'm like, it's not that far. I've seen this bit in Always Sunny. I know where this is going.
Yeah.
It's like, don't let me go, and the floor is like a foot away. I've seen this bit in too many other pieces of media. It was good, but
I thought it was extra funny because it was supposed to parody Clint and Natasha, especially because there've been a lot of Black Widow Easter eggs in this show.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh wow, it's not too soon.
Speaking of Easter eggs, I thought the addition of the Kingo Easter egg was really good.
Yes, for one, really like it because I've seen a lot of people say this is the most interconnected, non-interconnected MCU show.
Like, it's not overbearing.
Yeah, like, you can firmly place this within the MCU, but you don't necessarily need to have watched any MCU property ahead of time.
Like, this is probably the best example. Like, we can think, what is, like, one where the over-connectivity was, like, absolutely overbearing?
Overconnectivity, I would probably say either Falcon and the Winter Soldier or Hawkeye.
Exactly. Yeah, my
yeah.
Honestly, because they did not treat Kingpin that great in that show.
I feel like they treated Kingpin fine. I just felt that they should have introduced him sooner.
Oh yeah, if they introduced him sooner, that would have been a much more justified. But the reason I say that is he only has 5 minutes of screen time.
Yeah, my biggest issue beforehand with the earlier Disney Plus shows was that they always wanted to keep the villain a secret instead of just being out there up front about who the villain is. Meanwhile, Miss Marvel hasn't done that yet, where we haven't seen the villain, but on the flip side, they've gone all in on developing the character and the world around her.
Yeah.
To supplement it. The other shows, like Hawkeye and Falcon and the Winter Soldier, they didn't do much to truly expand the world around the characters when not showing the villain. Meanwhile, Moon Knight, they went full in on showing who the villain was from minute one.
Yeah.
And that made it so that while the world expanded, we always knew who the villain was and what they were up to and what we needed to do.
And I feel like Moon Knight and Miss Marvel ride, like, a fine line, but on, like, different ends of the spectrum, because Moon Knight, like, rides the line perfectly as to not having any interconnectivity or overbearing, like crossovers or cameos or anything like that.
Yeah, I think the only crossovers we had was one was a mention of Madripoor, and then the mention of the ancestral plane.
That's about it. Yeah, and the mention of the ancestral plane is a blink and you'll miss it.
Yeah, see like posters in the background.
Yeah, whereas And I wouldn't even count those because that's not even like in your face type stuff.
Yeah. Meanwhile, with Miss Marvel, it's like obviously the Avengers, like Ant-Man having a podcast.
Kingo being referenced in his Bollywood productions.
Yeah, or later on in this episode, we got, the fact that Edith returns.
Yeah.
I mean, that's actually a pretty huge thing. The fact that Damage Control, not only, like, we know back in No Way Home, Damage Control took control of all of the Edith drones, but now we're seeing, they are using Edith.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that was an Edith drone, which, was actually pretty unique to see, but also shows just how easy they are to destroy, like they were in Spider-Man.
Yeah. But, do you think they're using the same Edith AI? Because obviously they're using the same drones, but do you think they've repurposed the AI itself, or they've just uploaded a new AI into it?
I think they uploaded a new AI.
Yeah, because I don't think they would because, using the Edith AI itself, that sounds like a intellectual property. I'm going to be honest with you.
I mean, I think it's similar to how I think it's more similar. Remember when the government was trying to break into an iPhone and they needed Apple to give them the information on how to do it, and Apple wouldn't do so?
That's right.
I felt it was something like this, where the government wanted access into how they could use or replicate the Edith AI, and Pepper wouldn't give it over. So they went to the next best thing, which was create their own AI and then just use the Edith drones, which they were able to confiscate because technically they're allowed to confiscate.
True. Yeah.
I also really liked the Fed. Like, I didn't like the Feds, but I liked how the Feds acted, which was one, Cleary used the same tactic he used on Ned to use on Zoe.
Yes,
and
I did.
This time it worked. But second of all, the fact that they were like, I
mean, it still worked on Ned.
Still worked, but not as much as how it worked on Zoe.
Yeah, I mean, it's clear that he looked into her background and just find out what would make her tick.
Yeah, and then the other thing was how, like, not racist they are. Was she Latina? Oh, no, sorry. I'm supposed to say Latin X.
Oh, God. I'm just going to say as a Latino person, I hate that.
Oh, I can only imagine.
I hate that so much.
I also As
someone who's Latino and that hasn't been fully integrated into, like, our community, it's just... Oh, God.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Disdain for that title.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
And then also when they were like, so we're going to check every temple, everything, and then he lingered on mosque. And
see, I'm going to complain about that. That wasn't subtle enough. I'm sorry. That was just too in my face.
I think that was the point, because they were looking for a reaction when... Notice how they zoomed in on Zoe when he said mosque? I think that was intentional.
I'm not complaining about that. I'm just complaining off more than anything. I felt like, okay, I get it. The DODC is understand.
Oh, no, it's not that they're racist. I think they just did that because there's a sizable Muslim population where Kimberly lives. Where Zoe lives.
I mean, yeah.
Because I feel like if they didn't zoom in on Zoe, it would have been that.
Well, yeah, the line serves more than one purpose. It's just I think we're just focusing on the different like
the main thing about the racism was the next line, where it's like, be respectful. We don't want to step on the FBI's toes, which is a clear reference to the fact that ever since 9/11, the FBI has been monitoring any and every single mosque in America.
See, that I felt was a little more like, okay, I understand where we're going at that. It's not too in your face. I understood that.
Yeah, I don't think it was supposed to be, when they said mosque, that it was supposed to be the DODC is racist, but more like, what is going to get her to react?
Yeah. It's not like the emphasis on the mosque. It's more like the listing off that I have more of a problem with.
Yeah, but then again, it only makes sense. Those are, I mean, I can understand it, but as someone that lived in a bigger city like Jersey City, those are the exact places you would look, because those are, to be fair, those are ethnic hubs. You are going to, if you're going to look for someone and all you have is their ethnicity, you might as well start those places.
Fair.
So I feel like they have to list those off because where the fuck else would you look? Like, if you were looking for, I don't know, you're looking for a white guy with, like, a long beard, I'd probably start looking at religious areas first.
Yeah, I don't know, it's the dialogue that really bugs me. I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like the dialogue could have been done a little bit better for the same purpose.
Yeah, but I don't think they were trying to be subtle. That's the thing. Like, I don't think there was supposed to be subtlety in the line. I think it was so.
Yeah, the scene just rubs me the wrong way.
Yeah, but yeah, and then we see that they were at the Eid festival or Nightlight, which I swear is a reference to Night Monkey.
See. Yeah, no, Marvel's doing a whole bunch, like, the MCU itself is doing a bunch of, oh yeah, we're gonna just give them that name instead. Look, it's not the same name as the character.
But that at the same time, I mean, what else would you fucking call them? It's like, oh, that's Miss Marvel. Why the fuck would you call that Miss Marvel? Or when Spider-Man is in all black with no identifiers of Spider-Man, why would you be like, yeah, that's definitely Spider-Man?
You could just say, I don't know, it's just...
You have to name it something, but it's not going to be that character because why the fuck would anyone name it that?
It would never be. I'm not arguing that.
Yeah, so, I mean, it makes sense. Nightlight, I mean...
I just see it as a trend, and
It is a trend, but it's a trend that is, in my opinion, the most realistic trend.
It is realistic, but they're obviously doing it for, like, Like, it was obvious in Far From Home that it was done for comedy.
Oh, yeah. And it's done for comedy here, but I think the comedy comes from the fact that, like...
Yeah.
It is realistic in the sense that, like...
I just don't like them rehashing jokes.
I mean, I feel like this was inevitable.
It what?
I feel, because of the genre...
The inevitability isn't an excuse, though.
But I feel because of the genre that we're in, that joke is always going to be made whether you like it or not.
I better not see it one more time, and I'll stick my foot in for that.
See, the problem is I fully expect that joke to appear in many properties just because what else would you do? Like, given how comic books work, you're always introduced to, like, the public is always introduced to the character because the character announces who they are.
Yeah.
But in the MCU, they don't do that because that doesn't necessarily make sense. So I feel like that joke just is always going to happen because that's just how the medium works.
I'm not going to like it.
I'm not telling you to like it, but I am telling
like it.
I'm not telling you to like it, but
you're trying to rationalize this to me like you're trying to change my opinion. It's not going to happen.
I'm not trying to tell you to like it, but I am trying to tell you that it's not something that they can avoid. It's a part of the medium it's a joke within the medium that will always be there because of the fact that it's the medium they work with.
Fine.
That's just how it works.
Fine.
But that's all I have to say, is that it's a joke that will continue to work. It's a joke that will continue to happen whether writers want it to.
Continue to happen, not continue to work.
Not work. It will continue to happen because of what the writers have decided to work with.
Yeah.
But, yeah. So, then we also have Kamran. Fuck. Kamran. And, so, he's definitely a villain. Disney Channel original movie. Think about it like a Disney Channel original movie.
Yeah, I'm definitely getting weird vibes from the other one for sure.
Oh, I think he's a villain. If you follow the Disney Channel original movie structure, then you have to know that the love interest of the main character that shows up is the villain.
But you also got to remember that the underling typically isn't a villain the whole way through in these kinds of movies as well. He could turn. But he's still an antagonist. Sure.
I think he's the main villain, if that's what you're saying. But I think he will be a villain.
Like you're talking about the vibes you get from when those two pick her up to begin with.
Oh, no. I was talking about from the very fucking beginning. Look at him. He's jacked, but he's not a jock. Villain! Think about this from a Disney Channel original movie perspective.
You're punishing me for being right.
Exactly.
You're punishing me for being right.
Listen, if you go through this, then the only people that have any right to be jacked in Disney Channel original movies are athletes. He is not an athlete. and he's jacked. Thus, other people allowed to be muscular in these movies are villains.
Oh, come on! This movie or this show has a bigger budget than that. You put a little more faith into it.
No. It's not about the budget. It's about the vibes. Villain. This is straight villain. He's a villain. He is a villain.
You know what? You can put your cards on that one.
He is a villain, and I feel like his character arc is going to be how it always is in a Disney Channel
But
original movie.
I will say something that points to your argument is that it seems like their relationship grows a little too fast, don't you think?
One thing I notice is when her brother and his fiance comes in, he puts his hand on her hand, and on first look you think, oh, like flirty. I think he was feeling if the bangle was there. It was the arm that her bangle was there.
It would make sense considering that, I mean, let's be fair, given the implications from the ending of the show, he would know from the very beginning.
Yeah. And also, I think it is not a coincidence that he zeroed in on her, despite the fact that Nakia was there, but Nakia seemed to be the one more interested in a conversation.
Yeah, more upfront, because let's face it, Kamala was definitely more nervous than her.
Exactly. He is a villain. Disney Channel original movie formula dictates he is villain.
Okay.
He will most likely, how it will work is that Kamala is going to join him and the Najima. She's going to join the two of them because she's going to feel like this is an aspect of her world that she felt that was locked away from her family. So she's going to join them, but then she's going to realize, oh, these people are kind of fucked. And then it's going to cause the division. Because that's how this always works. And also, I'm fairly confident that's how it worked in the comics. If anything, from the comics, he's most likely going to be the character Red Death. And I am still on the train that these people are Inhumans.
Well, I actually want to touch on that because somehow I'm going to let this slide just because it's established that Bruno is a tech genius. But it's established that she has energy readings that come from within her, not the bangles.
Yeah.
So, Inhuman.
I think she's an Inhuman.
Based on the implications set in that episode with her energy to see where like the origin of her power comes from, she's got to be an Inhuman.
Yeah, for sure. Like, ever since I first saw how they were showing off her powers, where they're like, oh, she's not actually making her arms bigger, it's all going to be like a Green Lantern type thing, I'm like, oh yeah, the ending of this is she's actually going to make her hands bigger.
Yeah, especially like what else can you think from that? But like that line itself only leads you to think in one way.
And also the other aspect of it is that it seems to be genetic because her great grandmother also has power.
Yeah, no, and the way that her that her relatives talked about her great grandmother, it's kind of the same with Inhumans, honestly.
Yeah, no, she's definitely Inhuman.
Because think about it, like it was. I'm trying to think back to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. What Inhumans were like treated that way in I'm trying to think, but season 1 and 2 of.
It's not season 1 and 2. It's seasons 3 and 4.
3 and 4. What elements what characters in seasons 3 and 4 got that much vitriol from their relatives? I'm trying to think.
It wasn't from their. Well, there was that one. Were they Indian or Middle Eastern? The Middle Eastern girl that joins the Watchdogs, and her brother is an Inhuman.
Right, that's the one I'm
thinking about. It leads into that one plot point that they never solve, where he goes through second Terrigenesis, and they never resolve it.
That's right. That's the one I'm thinking about.
Yeah.
I knew there was an element because whenever I think of that, the easiest thing you can go to is the mutants, but the Inhumans also went through that as well.
Yeah, no, the Inhumans went through it. It was with the Watchdogs. And how, what was it, Jeffrey Mace, he pretended to be an Inhuman so he could streamline Inhuman tolerance.
Right.
And so, yeah, no, they're definitely Inhumans. I think Cameron's an Inhuman.
Maybe.
I think he is. If he's going to be Red Dagger, then he's definitely an Inhuman.
So what's his power?
In the comics, it is creating energy, like imbuing himself in energy, and if he imbues an object with energy, it explodes.
Oh. So it's just Killer Queen.
Yeah.
It's just Killer Queen with Stray Cat. Cool.
Mm-hmm. So I think he's an Inhuman. I think her family, I think everyone on her mom's side is Inhuman, but it's just that only her great grandmother and her have unlocked their powers. And I do believe that the Bengals do have Terrigen Mist inside, and that the Bengal will break and she will undergo Terrigenesis.
Yeah, no, I believe you on that.
I believe that 100%. I believe that she is an Inhuman. No one will tell me otherwise. I do not think this is them trying to introduce mutants. I do think this is them trying to reintroduce mutants. And I believe the appearance of Black Bolt in Multiverse of Madness was supposed to set you up for this.
You said it reintroduced mutants. You meant Inhumans.
Inhumans, yes.
Although, have people really been talking about reintroducing mutants?
I mean, obviously, everyone's been talking about the idea of reintroducing mutants.
Or more as Miss Marvel.
No one has talked about it.
Okay.
But some people could say it as a refutation to the Inhuman and say maybe it's mutants. No, it's fucking Inhumans.
Yeah, okay. I was just wondering because you pointed that out kind of explicitly.
No, but yeah, no, she's definitely an Inhuman. She's definitely going to undergo Terrigenesis by the end of this. And I believe the Marvels is going to focus on the Kree, because I do believe Secret Invasion is going to tie into the Marvels, and it's going to point, I believe, a newer hot war between the Kree and Skrulls.
Okay.
Because from what it sounds like, from what Secret Invasion is going to be, is that a contingent of Skrulls have infiltrated Earth, and it seems that they infiltrated Earth around the time of the snap, which we know, which would make sense, and it would make sense that the Kree would be, in decline, considering they lost the war with Xandar. They lost Ronan, they lost Korath, and they kind of just fell to the backdrop. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. continues with the Kree. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. isn't canon, but I believe that it is. And because of that, we see further throughout Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. that the Kree aren't necessarily doing too well on the galactic stage. By the time of Thanos' invasion, they're scared shitless.
Yeah, they literally imbue a human with complete overload of gravitonium because that's their last result, almost ending in the destruction of Earth.
Yeah, so they were scared shitless of Thanos, and then the snap happened, which most definitely destroyed their empire. And now that their empire is back, they're probably in decline, because I'm going to be honest with you, I believe Guardians of the Galaxy 3 is going to show that there's going to be a new galactic powerhouse, and it's not the Kree.
Yeah, which is probably like...
And as well as Nova.
Okay. Yeah, because I desperately desire more of an expansion on the Kree-Skrull War, because that is a prominent thing in the comics, and unfortunately in Captain Marvel it was kind of barely touched on.
Yeah, and I think that's because we didn't get to see any malevolent Skrulls.
Yeah.
Which I believe Secret Invasion is going to show us malevolent Skrulls.
Yeah.
At least I would hope so. I kind of didn't like the idea of having a Kree-Skrull war, but then only showing the Skrulls as victims, because that kind of makes it seem less of a war and more like an invasion.
Yeah, or even a genocide, honestly.
Exactly, which I feel is not accurate.
Yeah. I mean, that decision in Captain Marvel was more made as a subversion of expectations.
Oh, yeah.
It was... I feel like it's starting to get to the point, like, if it goes the way that you described, that ultimately that decision in that movie will ultimately harm the longevity of that, of the relation to the comics.
Exactly. But we'll see how it goes. But I am convinced that this is all leading to an Inhuman /Cosmic Kree plotline. because at the end of the day, Inhumans were meant to be super soldiers that the Kree would use in their empire.
Yeah.
And there is actually a comic book storyline where the Inhuman royal family took over the entire Kree empire. Now, I do not think that's going to happen in the MCU, but I am saying that the Inhumans do have a strong connection to the Kree outside of just being their super soldiers.
Now, I'm not caught up with the Inhuman show at all. Are they still stuck on that moon?
What do you mean stuck? That's their home.
Yeah, are they still on that moon?
I think so.
Okay.
I didn't watch Inhumans, but I'm pretty sure they are.
Okay.
Because the thing is that there's a whole dichotomy that the fans have created where you have the Inhumans, which is the Inhuman royal family, which is the moon, and then you have the New Humans, which are the Inhumans that came through Terrigenesis after the Terrigen bomb went off during the Infinity storyline, where Thanos came to Earth to look for his son that he had with an Inhuman woman, and so he told Black Bolt that you will give me all of your children, and so I can kill them, so I can kill my son, or I will kill all of you and the children. So then Black Bolt set off the Terrigen bomb, which then released Terrigenesis across the planet, so that even if Thanos killed everyone there, Inhumans would constantly rise up, and so Inhumans would constantly live. Jonathan Hickman is an insane madman, but it works, trust me.
I don't.
Jonathan Hickman is insane, but he's a genius. As all of this contributes to the wider storyline that inevitably leads up to Secret Wars.
Yeah.
It is also in that same comic book story is the scene that I told you about Ronan and Thor. Where it's in that same series has that scene.
Okay.
Because how it works is that just get called to help their allies in space, and during that time, Thanos and the Black Order come and besiege Earth looking for his son, Thane.
Oh.
Yeah, no, his name is fucking Thane.
We kind of had to name him that and not Thawne.
No, it's Thane. It's like, if you were Thanos' son, what would you name yourself? Thane. Literally anything else. Thane. So, yeah, his name is fucking Thane. It's really fucking dumb. But he is an Inhuman. And while I do not think we're getting Thane, I do think that we are leading into the space side of the MCU, which I think will begin with Thor: Love and Thunder and the Guardians Galaxy Volume 3, and I think we'll really kick off with the Marvels.
Yeah. Do you think the Marvels is going to primarily take place in space rather than Earth? Because it kind of has to.
No,
right?
I think it's primarily taking place in space.
That's going to be a lot of whiplash for Kamala.
Yeah, Kamala.
I'm starting to do it too, I swear.
Yeah.
I'm starting to do it too. You're brain poisoning me right now. You're in my brain.
But yes, Kamala. Yes, I think it's going to be a huge whiplash for her, but also for Monica as well, because she hasn't gone to space.
Yes, she has.
Monica?
Oh, wait.
Maria did.
Maria did, yes.
Monica stayed at home.
Wait. No, she was called to space at the end of WandaVision.
Oh, right. She did end up going to that space station at the end.
Yeah, no, she was called into space. They both have gone to space.
Yeah, never mind. I forgot about the WandaVision post-credit scene. Yeah, never mind. So
no, the only person going to be experiencing whiplash is
Kamala.
Thank you.
But, yeah. Before this derails into a complete The Marvel speculation, I really like this episode. I really like what they're doing with Nakia, because in the comics she is a activist, and they're keeping that with this character.
Because, ultimately she wants to take part in, the mini electoralism that's going on at her mosque, because, obviously, you have the divide between
men and
women going on, the restrooms in the mosque not being up to standard. In the women's room, they've got... Although, I'm not aware much of, Muslim standards. Is that something that they typically do have
yes,
men in the front and women in the back?
Yes. That is a thing that is done both in the Muslim faith as well as more Orthodox Jewish faiths.
Okay.
Having a section for men and a section for women.
Has that caused more derision as far as like people are like fundamentalist Muslim faith like criticizing the show for criticizing that element of it?
I have not seen that. Most Muslims that I've seen have said that the mosque scene seems to be pretty accurate in the terms of the fact that the men's section is usually more pristine in a lot of mosques compared to the women's section. Yeah. And
I'm speaking more of an element like, like they're trying to fix this as a part of like this part of our religion type thing. Like
I haven't seen that. It's probably out there because I've noticed a notable uptick in Young Justice, a notable uptick in fundamentalist Muslim conservatives shitting on any modern depiction of Islam that isn't just the most fundamentally conservative one. But I really like her character. I really like what they're doing, and I really like how they didn't go with the whole like. Because you know how a lesser show would just go Islam bad? Like, Islam bad for women, women have no place in Islam. You know how a lesser show would do that?
Yeah.
This show completely subverts that, where both Kamala and Nakia seem pretty strong in their Muslim faith, and it does not look like they are ever going to renounce that. And that they actually take a lot of comfort in it, especially Nakia being with mixed.
Yeah, with her being an activist and... what's it called? Like, obviously she's got to be a left-leaning activist. Like, what people it kind of goes over people's head. Like, there are people who are like on the left.
Exactly.
And people just integrate their beliefs, and it still works for them. They still love their God, but how do I word this properly?
They love their religion, they love their God, but they are also able to use that as motivation to promote activist policies.
There we go. Thank you.
Yeah. And I really like that, and I really like how we are, and I hope the show continues. I hope the show ends with both Kamala and Nakia still being devout Muslims.
I doubt that the show will stray from that.
I hope it does not, because I really like that idea. I really like that these are characters that are allowed to stay Muslim, because lesser shows would have had those characters either betray their religion or try to portray the religion as just not for girls, which I believe is inherently harmful, as these religions, while the text of them and at their most fundamentalist can be very harmful to women, there is a level of comfort that a religion can bring to anyone.
Yeah, definitely, without a doubt.
Also, what was I gonna say? I also liked how Nakia she cornered our woke king Yusuf, and like so bad for him. He was like a deer in the headlights, where he's like, "Of course I support you and Kamala." And it's like, "So you'll vote for me?" And it's like,
"Oh, you wouldn't crush a girl's dreams, would you?"
And I'm like, "Oh God." Oh God, not our woke king. Don't put our woke king in the corner like this. I fucking love Yusuf.
Oh God.
Yusuf Khan is the best character in the show, hands down.
But, like, the sudden twist of, like, Nakia realizing, oh, politics is so dirty, and then using, like, really, like manipulative tactics on him.
I loved it.
Oh my God.
His reactions were amazing. Different clicks that they showed, because it is actually pretty reflective.
Oh, of course it is, yeah.
Yeah, like, so the Insta-Kids, which, of course, it had to be a dumbass Insta-Kid that nearly gets himself killed. And he's like, why did I even do this? And it's like, yeah, dumbass, why would you take a picture? It actually so I've been reading Game of Thrones lately, and it reminds me of when Bran is, he's, like, trying to hear all the gossip that's going on between... that the Lannisters are talking about his family, and it ends with him looking, like, peering through and seeing who's talking, and he sees the twins Lannister fucking, and they catch him, and so he nearly falls trying to scramble away, and so then Jaime picks him up, and it's like, oh God, thank God, I'm safe, and then Jaime throws him out the window. So he, like, saves him, and then he throws him out the window, and he ends up in a coma.
Sounds about right for Game of Thrones.
Yes, but that kind of reminded me that scene just kind of reminded me about Bran.
Yeah, no, that sounds about right.
Yes. but fucking hell. But yeah, no, the Insta-Kid, the reverts, which is just full. And I love how they made, because the thing is so Bruno clearly is not Muslim, but I really like the fact that he is accepted in the Muslim community wholeheartedly by everyone, because I think that is more accurate to how Islam is in America than people think it is. A lot of people feel that Islam is the one religion that you can't get into as a layman, compared to, say, Christianity and Judaism, which is just patently false.
Yeah.
If you look back through history, especially during the golden age of Islam, Islam is very open to having any member of the faith. And so, or just participate within the faith's, like, cultural events. So having Bruno not only dress in, more traditional Muslim garb, but one, being accepted by Kamala's family, but just the Muslim community at large, to be at the Eid festival was really good.
Yep, without a doubt.
I also like how they specified that it's Eid Mubarak, which is the lesser Eid, versus, I forgot what the greater Eid is. The greater Eid is the one that happened recently this year. Lesser Eid is happening later this year, I believe.
Okay.
So I like that as well.
So, as far as what our final rating of the show is, I'd give it a 7.5, honestly.
I'd give it an 8.
Yeah.
It was really good. I just really like the vibe of this show. Iman Vellani is acting her ass off in this show, and honestly, it shows.
Remember the rumors where, like, they were kind of disappointed with her performance at the beginning of filming?
Yeah.
I don't see that here.
I don't know how anybody... She is acting her ass off in this show, and it is paying off so well.
Yeah.
If this is supposed to be her low point in acting for the series, I'd love to see the high point, because this shit's amazing. Yeah. She is pulling this off so well. In fact, I believe all the actors are doing well. In fact, the actor that plays Yusuf is actually a pretty prominent, like, South Asian actor.
Huh, really?
Yeah, he's really prominent, and people, like, really love him, and he is also acting his ass off. Like, the way he plays Yusuf is so fucking good. I love it so much. This show is filled with just great acting across the board, and it's just really fun. I have fun watching this show. I really like it. I cannot wait for the next couple episodes. This is a 6-episode series, right?
I believe so.
Yeah, so we got 4 more episodes, but it's looking really good.
Alright, but with that all being said, we can wrap this segment up in a nice bow.
Yep.
Let's go ahead and move on to our next segment. Let's go ahead and begin our conversation on Kenobi.
Yes, so Kenobi episode 5 has come out. It is the penultimate episode to this season.
I cannot believe that we're already at episode 5.
I know.
Think that, oh my god, releasing 2 episodes in the first week really screwed me up as far as keeping track of the show.
Yeah, it's really gone by fast compared to the other shows, which I actually do appreciate.
Yeah.
But this episode was amazing.
Yeah.
For one, it really shows the dichotomy between the light side and the dark side and what truly fuels them, which is the light side is genuinely at its best fueled through altruism, while the dark side is truly fueled by selfishness.
Yes.
And I really like seeing that. Vader in this episode was just... I've seen a lot of Star Wars fans say this, and I'm inclined to agree, but ever since the Disney buyout, Vader has become a phenomenal character. Honestly, like, he was good in the EU, but the Disney version of Vader is honestly one of the best incarnations of Vader.
So I want to go through that, because we get Rogue One. We know the scene where he's, like, that was, like, just complete fan service, but it, like, ultimately showed, oh yeah, no, Vader is a badass, and he will kill your entire fleet if he so wants to. Yeah. And then we come to now, where he literally stops a ship in midair, tears it apart, just based on pure rage alone.
Exactly. Even in Star Wars Rebels, Vader is terrifying. He doesn't show up much in Rebels, but whenever he does show up in Rebels, you're like, they're fucked. They're fucked. Also, in Jedi Fallen Order, when he shows up in Fallen Order, when you face Darth Vader, he does not have a health bar. Your objective isn't to beat him. Your objective is to fucking run. You do not beat Vader in that game. When you fight Vader, your objective is survive. There is no health bar because there is no way you're killing him.
So I do want to say one thing. Like, as the episodes progressed, I'm like, okay, this show is treating Vader really well. But why did we have to bring Hayden Christensen back? And then this episode proves why we had to.
Exactly.
So I will say, seeing an older Hayden Christensen, little jarring, but I'll accept it.
It was a little jarring to have an older Hayden Christensen play a younger version of Anakin than the one he played back in Attack of the Clones.
Because he plays, like, based on the hairstyle we were given, it takes place before Revenge of the Sith and, like, around the era of Attack of the Clones.
It's before Attack of the Clones because he still has his right hand. So this is before Dooku cut it off.
Exactly, yeah.
So this is supposed to technically be younger than the version we saw in Attack of the Clones.
Yes.
With seeing the older Hayden was a bit jarring, but it still works.
Seeing an older Hayden not have the longer hair, it was like they could have gotten away with giving him longer hair and say, "Oh, this is just right before Revenge of the Sith Anakin."
Well, but it wouldn't make sense though because he's already a Jedi Knight. He wouldn't need to be training anymore. Because he got promoted to a Jedi Knight very soon after Attack of the Clones. By the time the Clone Wars begins, and the Clone Wars takes place, Star Wars, the Clone Wars, the show and movie, that takes place canonically about a month after Attack of the Clones. And he's promoted to Knight within that month.
Yeah.
So it would only make sooner.
Yeah. Yeah. Because the main point of that scene is not really to train him in sword fighting, it's more to deal with, like, his, like the balance within him.
Yeah.
So I will say that part was a little bit jarring, but that scene, like, seeing Hayden Christensen act good, knowing the rest of his career.
See, the thing is it's not that Hayden Christensen was a bad actor. He was given bad material.
Oh no, I'm just talking about his career in general. Not just with Star Wars.
I mean, yes. I mean, I'm going to say this. Have you seen the movie Jumper?
You've talked to me about this before.
Yes. Listen, Jumper is a shit movie, but Hayden Christensen is the best part of Jumper.
I'll take your word on that.
Trust me on this. Like, Jumper, I think Jumper is a shit movie. I have watched it at least 4 times, which is 4 times too many.
How much alcohol was in your system?
I watched Jumper, the 4 times I watched Jumper was before I ever turned 18.
What is wrong with you? What is wrong with you? No, this is intervention level.
Listen. It's a terrible movie, but Hayden Christensen is good in it.
You could have been watching better bad movies. You could have dedicated that time to something else.
Hayden Christensen, he was good in a very shit movie. Anyways!
But yeah, to see him actually, like, he was doing pretty good. Like, I will say, like, in the prequels, his best acting is when he's angry.
Yes. And so seeing a non-angry Anakin act well was really good.
Yeah.
It kind of reminded me of, this show's like a precursor to how he is in the Clone Wars in terms of his characterization, because he is that cocky within the Clone Wars, but he's less cocky about defeating someone in combat, which I think is one because that scene of him being cocky in combat culminates in him losing his arm against Count Dooku, because throughout Clone Wars and into Revenge of the Sith, we see that Anakin is deadly serious at all times, and he stops being cocky in lightsaber duels. When he fights Count Dooku in his rematch during Revenge of the Sith, he is not cocky. He is focused, and he is determined, but he's not like, I can beat you, I'm better than you, I'm gonna make taunts the whole time.
Yeah.
He's not like that anymore.
Yeah. Now I want to see justification for bringing him in outside of flashbacks, which
I think
it's going to happen. Very difficult to do.
I think it's because of his If you've noticed, one thing you should take note of is the mannerisms that Vader has in this.
Like, most likely, that's him in that suit. Do you think?
No.
You don't think so?
No, it's been confirmed it's someone else in
there.
there.
Really? Because the mannerisms are really good for him.
Well, that's the thing. That's the point. Hayden Christensen does the mannerisms, but the guy that inevitably... So, what I mean is this. In the suit is him, sometimes, but any action scene is a stunt double.
Okay, that's perfect then.
Yeah, no, I'm talking about the fight scenes as well, because the fight scenes.
His acting, I wanted him in there.
Yeah, no, he's in the suit for the acting.
Okay, you worried me for a second there.
Yeah, no, but there is a stunt that does all the fight scenes, but that stunt double mirrors Hayden's mannerisms in fights as well.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, no, Hayden is really good. You can see Vader's mannerisms are more Hayden-esque than how he is in A New Hope, because in A New Hope he's fully matured in the dark side. This is, while he's most definitely far and away the most powerful dark side user in the galaxy, sans Palpatine, he's still not there.
Now, the other thing I want to point out about this episode was actually giving really good characterization for Reva.
Yes.
Up until this point, her character has only served the purpose of antagonist, revenge plot, go. Here, we actually get her motivation, her like more deep dive into her backstory, and you were right. She was one of the children that was shown in the flashback in episode 1.
Yep, she was one of those children. And I know some people have been memeing about the fact where she's like, "Where were you?" And people are like, "Well, he was getting attacked." No, that's not what she meant. When she said, "Where were you?" it was, "Where were you with him? How could you let him fall to the dark side?" And
even without that explanation, she was a child when that happened.
Exactly.
That's rage that's been spewing in her ever since she was a child.
Exactly.
Do you think that rage has any like foundation to grow from
anything rational?
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. It's not supposed to be rational.
No, it's supposed to be something that has been with her for more than half of her life, and let's face it, that's been driving her ever since, and now she's an inquisitor.
Yeah.
Like, her feelings have been, like, up to this point, her feelings that she currently has are completely rational, because the feelings she's had literally drove her to success in the Empire.
Exactly. One thing I do want to say that is completely unrelated is we are currently have a thunderstorm, so if the stream...
let's see. Yeah, that does look like it can knock out our electricity. Anyway, moving on.
Yes, but, yeah. And I really like that she pointed out that, like, yeah, no, you failed him. Which, if you go back and watch Episode 2, all of Clone Wars, and Episode 3, yeah, no, Obi-Wan fails him because there are so many red flags as to Anakin falling to the dark side. Most especially, the biggest red flag about him falling to the dark side is the Mortis trilogy of episodes, which is probably some of the most important episodes of all of Star Wars, as it deals with what is the Force, what is the light side, the dark side, what is the Force, and all that it is. And that the Mortis trilogy of episodes was actually the inspiration originally for the original plot of The Rise of Skywalker. In The Rise of Skywalker, the main villain wasn't originally going to be Palpatine. It was going to be the Son, who is one of the 3 Mortis Force entities known as the Father, the Son, and the Daughter. And the Son, who was the representative of the dark side, and yeah, he was originally going to be the main villain of Rise of Skywalker. Which, to be honest, between the Son and Palpatine, I'm glad they went with Palpatine. Honestly, because no one knows who the fuck the Son is.
Yeah, no, general audiences wouldn't understand who that is. Like,
you don't know who the fuck the Son is!
Yeah, I'm speaking for everyone here when I say, yeah, no one would know who he is because only, like, the big Star Wars nerds know anything about Clone Wars.
Yeah, but also, I feel, as a Clone Wars fan, no, it would make no sense that the Son is the mastermind behind all of this, given his characterization in Clone Wars.